Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Author, leadership, and team development speaker Joe Woodley. I'm just so pleased to join you today. This is going to be a non-political, political, faith-based, family-based, community-based video that I want to um, share with you all today. I wanted to talk on a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. I have such a wonderful opportunity to serve my community. I serve inmates in the penal system. I serve in my church. Um, I serve in pastoral roles. Um, I serve in the school as a student success coach. I serve as a leadership and team development speaker. My life is all about service, engaging people, helping people's lives to be better. That's the focus of my life. Um, in the name of Jesus, that is the focus of my life. And take the precepts and the concepts and the principles of the Word of God and try to apply it into my life. So I want to start there, that everything I am saying, this is a part of who I am. This is important to me as a man, as a black man, as a man who has grown up in this country and who has faced times where I faced discrimination, um, times when I have been rejected or looked down upon because of my complexion, because of where I come from, because of my experiences. And there have been times when that has been a benefit to me because of those things. And it gives me the opportunity to share with people in a very unique way. But on the negative side of things, what is most hurtful is when you are discriminated against, put down, talked down to, degraded, demoralized by people who are supposedly your own people, other black folk. Um, that is even more painful and hurtful. And let me first say that I honor all authority. I respect all authority as the scriptures teach us to do, to pray for those who are in authority that we may be able to live in peace. And so that is how I conduct myself, how I conduct my life. And I want to start by saying that regardless of whether it is former President Obama, or Bush, or Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris, regardless of who they are, I pray for all of our leaders in the presidency as well as in the Congress and in other areas. I always do that. I make sure to do that because that's important. That's what we're commanded to do, and it is who we are. Okay, so I want to say that. Um, but that does not mean that in respecting them and honoring them that I don't speak up and speak out about things that I see that are wrong and that are unjust. And this country, unfortunately, has a history of belittling, degrading, devaluing um, black men. We have a history of that, and we are well aware of that. We understand what happened during slavery, what happened during Jim Crow, the civil rights movement, and we know that we still have some work even to do today with how we see each other and how we treat each other. By and large, most people in society, I believe most people in society, just want to be left alone and do their own thing. Um, as a believer, I just want to love God and worship God and in spirit and in truth. And I want to treat people the way um, I want to treat people the way that I want to be treated. Right? That's what I try to do. I try to treat people right and treat people kind. But again, the most hurtful thing, perhaps the most hurtful thing that can happen, is when people who profess to be black or to look like you or to they claim they had the same experiences, claim to at least, um, when they demoralize you and they put you down and they talk down to you and they say things that are hurtful and despicable. Um, I take it a little bit more personally because you know better and you know the history. Um, Again, this is a political, non-political, family, faith-based, and everything. This is all rolled up in one. And this needs to be said though. With the history that has come through this country and through this country, what we've seen is that when slavery was going on, slavery didn't go. Any slave that wanted to lead, they would have the house Negro, and the house Negro would report on what the other slaves were doing. Right, the house Negro, they were kept in a better situation, and they were there to kind of keep the slaves in line. Okay, post slavery, slavery ends after the Civil War. There were people who wanted to leave those plantations. They wanted to leave. They wanted to find a better life. They want to move north. And there were people on there whose job it was to keep them in line and say, why would you want to leave here? Like, why would you want to leave? Because this is like the best situation in the world for you. I mean, Master takes real good care of us, right? And that's what they would say. And so anybody who wanted to leave there, that's how they would treat them. And they would degrade them and demoralize them and talk down to them and treat them like they were hot garbage. And so they would do all of that stuff, and that's kind of how they approached it, right? So that's what went on during that era. Why would you want to do that? And then you get beyond that, and you get into the Jim Crow era, and there were people who were saying, don't push the system, don't push them, just keep your mouth shut, right? And then we get into the civil rights movement, and same thing. Don't push them. You had a certain group of people whose job it was to keep people in order, keep people in place, put people in their place, most especially black men. And so we move forward in time and we get into the political system, and now we're voting. We're voting more freely than we ever. We had the opportunity to vote more freely than we ever had before. And certainly the generation before mine, their mindset was just like, vote blue no matter who. And there were various reasons for that. Obviously, um, you had what went on with the civil rights movement, and there were bills that were passed, and there were laws that were passed, and things happened, right? And that kind of helped to benefit the community. Um, but then we enter a period where we're just expected to vote without having making any sort of demands whatsoever, without any type of expectation whatsoever. And anyone who would challenge that and question that was again put down. And again, especially the brothers were putting down. Okay. And so that was the focus before. And now the people are asking questions because the world around us has changed, and our communities and our families are in a worse condition now than they have been in generations. That's just where it is. It's the reality. We've seen so much brokenness, so much hurt, so much depravity, so much impoverishment in our communities. And so a lot of men are saying, you know what, I think I want to take another look at some things here and possibly make another decision. I'm not so sure I want to stick this thing out. I'm not so sure I want to stay with this particular party because they ain't doing nothing. Now, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I am an independent, so I'm making that very clear. But the reality is they ain't doing nothing. They haven't done anything. And there's a lot of symbolism, right? So we've been told to vote for a lot of symbolism, representation. That's the big word. We need representation. But what does the representation brought us? But more pain, because everyone who goes in and seems to represent us is just another part of the system. They become a part of the system, become another cog, in the wheel, and they continue to do the same things over and over and over and over again. And so people are starting to push back, and they're asking questions, and you can even see where more people within the community are shifting away from that. However, but the reality is that this is all being placed at the feet of the brothers. Okay. And there's a reason why I'm using that term here, and I'm going to talk to you about it in a second. So we're now moving into the process where we're having expectations. We're saying like, hey, what are you going to give us for our vote? Like, and more of us are saying that, like, you make all of these promises and then you don't follow through, and you make excuses, and then when we say we want to shift away, then you send out the dogs, you send out the house Negro, you send all these individuals out to get us back in line. And here we are, another election, and we're right back to this again, where they sent out number one attack dog, the former president, who has a history himself of getting the brothers in line, putting them in their place. He's got a history of this. That's just the reality. He has a history of this. And so here we are now, because they have an issue with black men voting for Kamala Harris, who, the truth is, by and large, the majority are going to vote for her. Dare I say, not because of her policies, because the policies that she's invoking have been the same policy they've been doing for generations, that have done nothing for us. But go out and vote for her because of her representation. Representation. She checks all the boxes. She's supposedly black, she's mixed race, Indian, and she's a woman, right? And so she checks all of these different boxes. And so, hey, go out and vote for your pull the ballot, put your ballot in the box, push the button, pull the lever for her, right? Don't ask any questions, just do it. And a lot of men are asking, why? What am I going to get out of this? Because there are no clear policies. No clear policies that are being presented. There's a lot of fluff, which is what we hear again and again and again and again. And our communities continue to decline. So they send out the president, and like clockwork, and he starts attacking black men. That's exactly what it is. We can make whatever excuses we want to make, but what he did is wrong. What he did is wrong. It is hurtful. It is destructive. It is demoralizing. And it says a lot about how they see us in this country. I will guarantee you that former President Obama would not go to an all white group, an all Hispanic group, an all Asian group and speak to them that way. I can guarantee that. While he feels at liberty to talk to black men like that. And it's not because he is a brother. He feels at liberty to do that because the culture that he is a part of says that these men belong to us. The mere fact that we would even think about voting for someone other than her, he found to be offensive. The mere fact. He's not looking at the reasons why so many men are saying, I'm sick and tired of what's going on. He's not looking at that. He comes back to say, oh, it's because she's a woman. That's why you don't want to do it. And I'm not saying that there are men who are not going to vote for her because she is a woman. But the vast majority, that has nothing to do with it. It's because they are sick of policies, quite frankly, on both sides, that have degraded and demoralized and deteriorated our communities. That's why. And so he comes along and says, well, you're basically saying you're not pulling your weight. He comes along and basically says, you're not real men. He comes along and chides us like he's somebody's daddy, or he's our daddy. He's not. I have a daddy. I have a father. My number one father is in heaven, and he don't talk to me like that. Okay? And I'm sure not going to allow anyone else to talk to me like that. I don't allow anybody around me to speak to me like that. He would not do that to any other group of people. That's just the fact. And here he is. They bring in the Messiah, because that's how he's looked upon in throughout much of the community. They bring in a Messiah to get these men in line. I find it to be personally offensive. And I believe that you should as well. No one, including me, has the right to tell you who you should vote for, who you have to vote for. And if you don't vote for that person, then you ain't a real man. No one has the right to put you down, beat you up emotionally, spiritually, even physically, based on who you choose to vote for. Our votes have been taken for granted. Who we are for men has been taken for granted. The reality is that they've used every technique, every tactic that they know to put us down and to keep us down. They've used our children against us. You men know what I'm talking about. They've used black women against us by building them up and tearing black men down. I'm not opposed to building women up, supporting women, and encouraging women to be in various positions, but that does not have to come at the expense of tearing down the brothers, which is what he called us, the brothers. And that's what they've done. They have torn the black men down. They have demoralized us. They have put their feet on the back of our necks, and they elevate the women and say, no, you're going to follow the women. Well, I thought the men were supposed to be the leaders. I know that that sounds archaic to some people, but I believe that men are at their best when they're leading. Men are at their best when they're covering their families, when they're protecting their communities. Men are at their best when they're being innovators and they're taking initiative and they're not passive. Men are at their best when they're being men, when they're exploring and they're building. Men are at their best as leaders. And there's nothing wrong with saying that. That doesn't mean that women can't lead, but I'm saying men are at their best when they're in those positions. And men will step up to the plate when they are in those positions. And so what they have done is um, they have cut us down for far too long. And I will challenge you. I will challenge you as men, as black men, to speak up and say, we're not going to put up with this stuff anymore. You can vote for whoever you want to vote for. I want to vote for whoever I want to vote for. But the way that he came across was condescending. Even the way that he said the brothers was very condescending. They try to shame us for daring to think differently, having our own ideas, our own concepts, for being creative. That if we don't do what they say do, then you are a sellout or an Uncle Tom or go down a list. If you don't vote blue, no matter who, something is wrong with you. You must have some sort of a mental deficiency. That's what they're telling you. That's what they're telling you. And they tried to shame us. They tried to embarrass us. Vote for whoever you want. President Obama does not have the right to tell you who to vote for, and nor does he have the right to shame you into voting who he thinks you should vote for. You do your research. You pray about it. You ask God to lead you, and you look at the situation in your family and in your community, and you make the decision that's going to be best for you. That's how you vote. Don't ever allow anyone to put you down, let alone a politician who is in it for himself or herself. He said that she was raised as we were raised in the community. She was not. She was raised in Canada. That's the reality. Raised in Canada by an Indian mother. She does not have the same cultural experiences that we do. And that's one of the reasons why she's struggling to get the vote. She does not identify with the community in the same way. That doesn't belittle her as a person, as a human being, but that's the reality. So to the politicians and all the athletes that they're sending out there and anybody else they want to throw at us, we are not your slaves. We are not your slaves. My heart belongs to the Lord. My desire, my will is to follow the will of the Father. That's where I am. And no one Even people in my inner circle have the right to tell me, you better vote for that person. No one has the right to shame me into doing anything or to embarrass me into doing anything. No one has the right to tell me put my self-interest last or the interest of my family, my community last, because we need representation. We've had enough representation and it's gotten us absolutely nowhere. We have representation in mayoral positions all over this country and where our city's at. Representation in our schools, where are we at? We need concrete policies that are going to allow our communities, our families, our churches, our young people and old people to flourish. That's what we need. Concrete policies. And she's not offering them. I'm sorry, but that's the reality. And we have the right to choose who we want to choose. So all this talking down to Black men has been going on for centuries needs to stop. We need to hold the political class accountable for their actions. That starts at the ballot box. If you do not follow through on your promises, I will vote you out. I don't care whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent. Doesn't matter to me. I will vote you out if you don't follow through. She isn't following through on her promises. I am under no obligation to vote for her. Pure and simple. Lastly, folks, you better put your hope in the Lord. Every politician is subject to failure. Every politician is subject to falling. We are. We're all human beings. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to make wrong choices. But if you're waiting on a politician to come and save you, you're going to be in a heap of trouble. Yes, we're going to hold them accountable. But ultimately, I know they're not going to get everything right. And so my ultimate hope is in the Lord. My ultimate hope is in Jesus Christ. Not Kamala Harris, not in Donald Trump, not in Robert Kennedy or anybody else that's out there running. My ultimate hope is in Jesus Christ. So will I vote? Yes, I will. I will vote, but I know where my ultimate hope lies. And I'm going to hold them accountable. So with all due respect, Mr. President, mind your business. I will vote as I'm going to vote. My family will vote as they're going to vote. My community is going to vote as they're going to choose to vote. Mind your business. You don't have the right to talk down to us. You don't have the right to degrade us any further. We've put up with enough of that. All right. God bless you. And I hope that this video encourages you to, yes, to get out and vote, to hold these politicians accountable, and stop letting these people who are not in your communities, they don't live in your communities. They go back to wherever they are in Beverly Hills or up in the Hamptons or wherever they are. They live wherever they are. They are not living your experience. They don't have the right to tell you what you need to be doing. And even within your own community, I would even challenge the leaders in your community. Tell them to stop trying to shame you and embarrass you. No more pushing the brothers down. No more degrading the brothers. No more making us look or feel as if we're less than. We are not less than anyone else. We are just as intelligent, just as intellectual, just as adventurous, just as innovative as any other man. And if you can't go out and talk to other men like that, like you spoke to those men in that room, or you talking to our community, if you can't talk to them like that, which you will not, then you have no right to do that to us. Mind your business. All right. Bless you, folks, and I will connect with you sometime soon. Take care. God bless.